Bobby, thanks for being here. Right now we're starting off-season programs for a lot of schools. Holidays are coming up. Coaches are starting to, especially football coaches, are starting to think about what they're going to do in the off-season coming January. And a lot of them, looking to build size on their team, power, speed, all these things. In the weight room, apart from the major lifts, we all know squats, deadlifts, powerlifting, and bench. Apart from those four, what other major maybe exercises or maybe body parts should they be focused on to help these athletes get stronger quicker in the amount of time that they have?
Well, keep in mind, Eddie, what you're looking for is a well-rounded athlete. Just because someone's strong in the weight room doesn't mean they're going to go out in the field and be able to take that strength and do something with it on the field. The reality is you have to make sure that he's well educated on not only just the weights, but his stretching, his nutrition, speed, and understanding how the weights apply to the activities that are going to happen outside of the gym. And that's important. That's the big thing there. Is if you can help them understand that I don't care how much you bench. I want to know how is that bench going to help you in your position and help you become a better athlete. Learning how to get stronger on squats, learning how to do it, that's great. But let's make sure you do it safely, and let's make sure that you enjoy the sport. Coaches are looking for an athlete that can constantly keep learning. If you go in the gym and you don't have a plan, that's your first failure. You got to make sure that you have a game plan going in. You got to make sure that it's measurable and that's achievable for everybody. Some people are going to be looking, like I told you before, I don't like goals. Goals means that you have a ceiling on your expectations. I don't like that. I want this to be a glass ceiling where you could fly through it if you want to, because you want to make sure that they understand the harder they work, it's not the luckier they get, the smarter they get. And that's what you're looking for.
So when I'm structuring this program, so let's say I'm a strength coach or I'm a head coach at a high school, and I have 45 minutes to work with these kids, and I know I got to get those major lifts in. How do I maximize the time, and what kind of things should I do or think about doing to get the most bang for my buck during that period of time?
Okay, good question. What I see most times, and I see in errors, is the overlap. The guys that are not giving the muscles time to rest. So when you ask for certain exercises, you got to keep in mind that the big muscles, they need 72 hours of rest. If you want them to grow and you want them to be a very good athlete, you got to give them the time off that muscle. So 72 hours off the big ones, 48 hours off the small ones. Now, keeping that in mind, you got to look at when you're doing your deadlifts, when are you doing your bench, when you're doing your back work, and make sure that you're wrapping those exercises and bundling them together. But at the same time, it's a push-pull. You want to push one day, pull the next day. Some time off. Those are the days, but you're always going to be doing speed, which will be training either on the field. So that 45 minutes, you want to make sure that the weight repetitions move. You want to make sure you check the ego at the door. Don't go in there and have these guys wanting to do one rep with a lot of weight that they can't do well at all. I'd rather see them do 12 to 15 reps with a good weight. Learn the discipline. They're growing young men, and they want to make sure that you get the weight moving in the right direction, learn the exercise, the movement, get those muscles developed, and then start helping them connect the mind to the body, and then the confidence they need. Because I always say confidence is contagious, but so is lack of it.
Right.
So it's important to understand you've got to have the confidence here as well out on the field.
So you've got like you mentioned, we got these young kids, we got 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, 18-year-old kids, and they come in and they say, okay, let's bench. So, they come in and start, working out. Talk a little bit about, we had a discussion before about, how you warm up. Yes, let's go heavy, but we talked about that discussion when you come in with the bar, and how you kind of approach it.
So getting the body warmed up is very important. If your body's not ready to go, it's like put a rubber band in a freezer and then try to stretch it. It doesn't stretch, or it's going to move easy. Your body's the same way. You got to let the temperature of the body move up, and you can stretch it properly. But for me, I always see this in the weight room when I'm warming up, especially in a contest. I'll warm up, even though I'm going to go up to 800 that day on bench. My first set is with the bar. I'll do 2 sets with the bar. Then I do 135, 225, 315, and then 315 I go to 600 or go to 700 my next set. But I warm up effectively with the lower weights, but I even start with the bar. So whether it be deadlifts, whether it be anything, be modest, take your time, warm up properly, and you'll enjoy and you'll be healthier in your lifting.
Another thing that I think that coaches are, kind of not clear on, and again, maximizing time. I mean, that's what we're trying to accomplish here. You got 45 minutes, you got all these athletes you have to run through the weight room. Sets and reps. You talked about moving progression through the different weights.
Through the sets,
there's a lot of philosophy. We're going to do a 6-week program. We're going to do 5x5, 3x5. 5. Whatever that might be. Right. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of stuff. people talk about, well, if you're a football player, you're gonna do sets of 8. If you're, a female athlete, you're gonna do, lighter weight, heavier, or more reps. Let's talk a little bit about the rep schemes.
Well, let me understand this. I like reps if the form's good. Bad form is bad form. I don't care how many reps you're doing. So that's going to be the first thing, is understanding if the skill sets of most young athletes today is they haven't, they're just ignorant right now. They haven't learned yet how to do things. So it's our job to teach them in 45 minutes the disciplines. I'd rather you learn, slow down, and do the weight correctly. So lower weight will be a better form. You teach the form, because heavier weight, bad form, you're inviting injuries. So the main goal, the first thing should be, is getting the perfect form. Remember we said earlier, perfect practice means perfect playing, and that's important. So you want everything you do from the time you warm up with the bar to the time you walk in that weight room, you better have a game plan. Don't just go in there and not have a game plan. You've got to have a game plan. And don't have it just for the day. Let the athlete know that this is what I expect for 5 days. And this is what I'm expecting when you walk in. So have expectations for what you want to get done. I want to get better at deadlift. I want to get better at power clean. Well, if I'm not, and he is or she is, get them over here with him. Partner up the right people to make sure that, because always saying is, Eagles like to hang around Eagles, and it's important to get those people together.
That's awesome news. Going back to a little bit earlier, you talked about the 72-hour rest and the importance of recovery, especially if you're trying to grow. So, a lot of coaches, because they have such a short amount of time, feel like they've got to cram in a lot of stuff in 4 or 5 day week period. And I think there's a lot of overlapping happening.
Yeah.
So if you go back to like that 72-hour period you talked about, can we break that down just a little bit more? You said push, pull, speed, working constantly. On that recovery, is it important, or is there a difference between doing lighter weight, heavier weight, reps, more reps, less reps? Does all that come in effect in the recovery? If I'm doing, let's say, 3 sets of 12, how important is that 72-hour recovery? And is it even worth doing? Is it worth, going heavier, doing more reps, less reps?
Let's make sure that we understand. When we're working out, the objective is to grow, is you're tearing tissue, muscle tissue. Key word, you're tearing tissue. That tissue's got to heal. If your diet's bad or your rest time, that tissue doesn't heal. It just stays stagnant, constantly breaking and not rebuilding itself. And that's what you're trying to do, is do it. So, you'd have to look at your program and understand what skill set the individual. You have some athletes, man, they can do a lot of things every day. Then you have some that are so far behind that you've got to make it a plan that's manageable for all, or segment it so that you have skill sets broken up differently. Now, if you look at something like bench pressing, I bench once a week. I'll go into a lot of gyms at a lot of schools, and they're benching 2 and 3 times a week. And I'm like, I do it once a week. I do triceps every 2 weeks. 2 weeks, not every 3 days, not every day. Triceps, I only hit heavy every 2 weeks. Now I'm doing it when I do my bench once a week, but when I come back just do an isolated day on triceps, I only do it every 2 weeks. Shoulders, I only do every 2 weeks, because I'm working so many other muscles that those muscles are getting worked. Remember I told you, mentioned overlap. That's where the overlap comes in. You'll have a guy that will do bench one day, then come back the next day and do curls, and then wonder why their shoulders are hurting them. The reality is they're using the same movement, their same body parts. Where that bicep connects to the shoulder is right where the benches go. So you have guys, that's overlap, and that's where you didn't give your body enough chance to rest. So you've got to pick and choose. I'd rather have less exercises and better quality than more exercises trying to cram it in.
Right.
So could all this stem through possibly overtraining?
Overtraining, you will not get the expectations that you set for yourself or your team. You'll have a great plan, but the plan lacked execution when it came to understanding how the body heals itself. You got to have downtime.
So if I want to average a weight gain of 15, 20 pounds over the off season for my team on average, that plays an important role.
Plays an important role, absolutely. Because if you overwork them, they'll never make the gains that they have. They'll never will be good at certain things, and you'll have a lot of problems. A lot of people quit. They fall off because they don't reach their expectations. They'd rather quit than keep fighting, and not doing well.
Or end up getting hurt as well.
Getting hurt. That's what we don't want.
So what I'm hearing is you're suggesting, or science proves, because you are tearing down, we know that.
Yeah.
Lifting the major lifts, bench, squat, deadlift, power clean. Or maybe not power clean, but maybe like the ones where you're really loading the muscle.
Right.
Power clean is more of a power, lighter
Mhm.
load. Recovering that 72 hours, and maybe just doing those lifts once a week.
Yeah, yeah. But bundling the exercises, if you can do some exercise, again, the push-pull. I do push this day, pull the next day. And pulling can be in a lot of different ways. You can come back on a Wednesday and do cardio on a third day and do something like pulling jugs, pulling tires, doing something that adds resistance to your running. But again, it's always, you're looking at the development of the athlete, trying to get past his own ceiling that he created for himself. His limits are only what his friends tell him he can't do. When you surround yourself with friends that sit there and tell you, you can't bench that, that's too much, right? That's way too much weight. The reality is you should have people telling you, let me load more on there for you. Let me do more. Just got to be smart, not overlap them.
Good.
Would resistance training be a good way to recover from the heavy or main lifts?
Okay, so ultimately what I'm trying to do, and if you see that a lot of big power lifters, if you look at the way they look, they've mastered the ability to not just work the major muscles, they work all those little fun muscles that are all in there. Mm-hmm. Lightweight will never ever incorporate all those little muscles that tie into the big ones. The big ones take over and they'll always gravitate. So if someone's got big biceps and front delts, it's hard for them to get triceps because the front bicep is so used to taking over. The body will gravitate to that. So what we're looking for is the body to say, okay, the bicep can only hold so much, but if I heavier the weight, the body's now got to ask for more muscles to lift that weight. And that's what you're looking for, is to get all the muscles. Use everything you got. Back to what we talked about in some of those lifts, getting your feet involved and how that affects your fingers. We talk about how that,
right,
the physical part of your body and how it works.
So what are your thoughts on, again, going back to that, staying on that subject?
Yeah.
The lightweight rep schemes. Because again, going back, I think that's one of the things that, what is the best way to approach your rep schemes? I know, people max out, they get their max, and then the workout programs created on, this is happening a lot, across the country, where their program is for the next 6 weeks is based on their previous 1 rep max.
Yeah.
And now they're doing a percentage and they're progressing up based on a percentage.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? And is that enough? Should they look at maybe tweaking that a little bit and thinking a little more progressive? What are your thoughts?
During the season, it's important to have a cardiovascular part of your muscles. So you want to be able to stay in the high rep range because your body's getting beaten down on a field, whether it be basketball, you need that downtime. So on-season training is different than off-season. Off-season, it's calories high, it's heavier weight, you're pushing yourself, but at the same time, you don't want to lose sight of that 8 to 12 rep max. That's very important to keep that cardio part of the exercise as well as the heavier weight. The heavier weight, the body's never going to grow. It'll get tuned, but it will never grow size-wise when you're lifting something that is, barely over what a lightweight for you. It's hard to say a percentage, but a lightweight, something you're doing 30 times, it fills the body up with muscle, blood, but the reality is it doesn't tear enough tissue down to break up for bigger muscles.
But you don't have is it sets of 3, 5, 6, 8? Is there a
Yeah,
best approach?
Yeah, if mine is, this has been my stair step. I do 12 to 16 reps, I do 8 to 12 reps, 6 to 8 reps, 4 to 6 reps, and then I'll do 2 to 3 reps.
But you don't base that off your percentage. You don't
No.
go, okay, my bench is
No.
800, so today I'm going to go,
Back to what I
80%.
mentioned earlier, the plan that you set up, coach for individual players, the plan he sets up has to be based off some sort of benchmark. And for me, at a different level, I've been doing this 38 years, mine's all in my head because there are some days I don't feel good. So I'm not going to be able to do as much as I did last week. Or sometimes I feel really good and I'm knocking it out of the park on how well I do. But for the young athlete, they need to have a benchmark. So if it is that 1 rep max, there's also a 2 rep max, a 3 max, or a 5 rep max equations that you can use also, where you look at what I can do 5 reps and how let that go off a base. Because 1 rep, if your form is bad and you do 1 rep, sometimes it's like anything. You fail at that 1 rep. Let's just use bench. I bench 225 for 15 times, but my 1 rep max is 230 because it just messes with my head. I can't do it because my form, it's just heavier. Right. So those are the kind of things you got to take into consideration. That's why I like when you do that 12 to 16, you do the 8 to 10, you do the 6 to 8, and then 4 to 6, and then 3 to 5. It gives you a little bit more stability and some more cardio with that.
And you're talking those rep schemes within that same workout session.
Yeah.
And then, so in that session, so let's say you had planned, you're in your final sets, you know, you're on your sets of 3 or 2s or whatever you might be on, and you get that easy.
Yeah.
Do you recommend, you know, telling the kids, hey, if you get that easy, go for that 4th one. Just because I said 2 or 3 doesn't mean stop at 2 or 3. Maybe get that last 4th one, or is 2 to 3 because that's what it was designed for? Do you stop there?
You know, that's fortunately, it depends how bad his form is. Mine is, as soon as your form is bad, you're done. So if you're supposed to have done 3 reps in that form, and at 2 your arms flared in bench or your head went up in the squats, I'm calling you. You're done. But if you want to do, because if you do another one and your form is bad, you're asking for trouble again for the safety factor. So, but if you did 3 and you blew it up, whatever it was, yeah, do another one. But you got to teach yourself that. The spotter may not notice that for you. You got to kind of do it yourself.
Once form breaks, it's pretty much over.
Yeah, once form breaks, you're off script. You're done.